Hi everybody, Jean here, and welcome back to Breakthrough Creativity. I'm interviewing experts from around the world about how to get to a place where inspiration flows naturally through you and how to see your natural gifts and talents as a valid career choice. Creativity brought to fruition in the world. Today's guest is Anna Bay. Anna is the creator of the JetSetBabe.com blog. She's a high-end matchmaker and specializes in helping women transform themselves from rags to riches. She runs an online finishing school called the School of Affluence and helps women navigate success and become the best version of themselves. So Anna, you're very welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
Hi, it's a pleasure being here with you. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm grand, I'm grand. It's great to finally connect. It's been quite a challenge to connect. I'm delighted to speak to you this morning.
Same
Um,
here.
can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in your field?
Yeah, so actually, my kind of story is in two parts, but I'm gonna keep them short. So, part one is that I have gone through the whole concept that I'm teaching women about how to kind of refining themselves, taking their lives kind of in a way, like you said, from rags to riches. I have done that myself, and my journey started about 13 years ago. And that was when I graduated from high school. I wanted to take a gap year because I was so tired of studying. So I moved to Italy to study Italian. And there I ended up in the kind of affluent circles just by accident. And I had this wealthy boyfriend. And when we broke up, I felt like, you know what? I don't think I can go back to my old plain Jane life again. Because once you get a taste for the good life, it's really hard to go back. So that is part one. So that happened 13 years ago. Then 6 years ago, in 2012, I started blogging just for fun. So I created a blog called Jet Set Babe. I just wanted to kind of share my experiences in high society, and it grew to become a really big community. So last year, I decided to create a YouTube channel called the School of Affluence, which is actually quite successful now, I'm not going to lie, and also to create an online program for those women who want to take this journey and yeah, learn from me who have this experience.
That's amazing. I mean, definitely when I discovered your blog, I was so intrigued by, I suppose, by the premise behind it, and so that's why I was just delighted that you could come on the show today. So many creative people would love to devote their all their time to their art, and without compromising their lifestyle. But of course, that's difficult if you don't have an income of your, or if you don't have sort of a source of funds to fall back on. But I mean, with your blog, you actually have a different way to approach that, and I suppose achieving that lifestyle without compromising on, without working yourself to death either. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Of course. So the whole controversy about what it is that I do is the fact that I am being very open and transparent with the fact that I think that if a woman wants to have financial support from a man, I think she should just go for it. And I guess kind of the answer to your question would be, I would say to women who want to perhaps have this form of benefit, I would say go for it, be open for it. It's actually a bit sad that in our society today it's really frowned upon women benefiting from men in any kind of way. I don't know why it's like this. I guess in a way, kind of, I'm a big feminist, by the way, but I guess in one way, feminism has gone to the extreme now where, everything has to be 50-50. And I personally do not think that that is really fair in our society where actually women, we have to carry a lot of hats already. And now we also have to carry the hat of being the provider, which I personally think is the man's role.
Got it. Yeah, I think that sounds really original and very, even that whole approach is very creative. So, so I suppose, when it comes to especially something like art, it can take decades to really get your career off the ground. And I mean, when it comes to, pursuing this option, um, it's so important to have a partner who really believes in your talents and supports you in this unconditionally. So, I mean, what advice would you give to the more sensitive among us to make sure that we're in a relationship that supports us emotionally as well as financially?
I think it's really important to find a genuine partner, like, period. I think that today you can actually have both. You can have money in a relationship and you can also have love. This is possible today, especially since wealth has become much more accessible. So, for those who think that, okay, well, if I have a partner who provides for me, who supports me, it has to be a loveless, empty relationship where it's basically a transactional relationship. Well, I feel like that is a misconception, to be quite fair. And I would say just open up your mindset and open up the opportunity that it actually can happen to you. But it can only happen if you believe in it and if you allow it to happen.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I suppose what I hear from you is you're really kind of taking away the taboo from, women choosing not to work and not to pursue that uh, career driven mentality, I suppose. I suppose the only thing that I'm thinking of is that sometimes in a relationship, if somebody has all the money, it can seem like they have all the power, and it can feel like, it takes away your power a little bit. So what are your thoughts about that?
It's true in a way. It's true. Money holds a certain amount of power. So we are not going to lie about that. I do, when I coach my women, I always say, regardless if you want to have a man provide for you or not, every human out there in this world, we have to have one, savings. We have two, a backup plan. Three, something to fall back on, maybe work experience or education. Like, these three things are fundamental. So I would never take away that from a person, especially if they want to have a man support them. Because it's true. Any moment that rug can be just pulled under your feet, and you have to be aware of that, definitely. But that doesn't mean just because there is a chance for that to happen that you should not like pursue that lifestyle. It's just like it boils down if you're clever enough, if you know what you're doing, and if you have a plan B, it's doable.
Very nice. So, I mean, when you're advising people about how to actually achieve this and to consciously pursue it, what are some of the things that you would advise people to focus on? Could you give our audience maybe three tips that they could implement in their lives if they're thinking, okay, I want to be more open to this possibility, and I want to, consciously step into this?
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, number one, transformation. Like, you have to be on top of your game. And you have to look the part, you have to dress the part, you have to act the part. So behavior comes in there. You really have to be on top of your game because competition is tough. There are many beautiful women out there. You have to stand out somehow. Now, number two, you have to beat the competition. And I actually made a YouTube video about this quite recently that became very, very popular. So there are three things that I tell people who are interested in this is that you have to be interesting as a woman if you want to beat the competition. And today, especially when everything is about sex and so on, it's important to be elegant if you want to stand out because there are many sexy and beautiful women out there. There are not many elegant women out there if you think about it. And lastly, femininity. Now, like I said, I don't want to judge anyone, but we have also come into a world where it's almost taboo being feminine today. It's like if you are being feminine, you're not a feminist, and that just kills me. I think that there are women who want to be, more masculine. That's fine, but why should we give up of our femininity? I think it's a great way to use also the femininity in the strategy because it holds an immense power over men. And if we women we know how to use our power, we can really achieve anything in this world. But we just have to be a bit clever. And number three, so lastly, you also have to know how to keep the man because it's one way to catch his attention and maybe date him, but what about keeping him? So I just have one simple like phrase for that, and that is just do all of the above that I just said. Rinse and repeat, because really you cannot, start becoming comfortable and start letting go of yourself, because that doesn't keep anyone, like especially not a man.
Sure. I mean, I suppose many kind of more sensitive types. I think most people do kind of look for something deeper when it comes to a long-term partner. So that it's not just about, you know, I suppose, and something more authentic. Um, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I know so many, even kind of high-powered women these days, they often, a lot of them would be single, say a lot of career women, so-called career women. So what do you think that they're doing wrong when it comes to connecting with the right person?
This question is extremely difficult to answer in terms of it's very individual. What are they doing wrong? There isn't just like one thing that is, applies to everyone. One thing that I have learned, and this is actually from my own experience, is that I had a very hard time actually finding a relationship myself for a while. So I went back to the drawing board and I just got myself a really good counselor. So I went to counseling and took that very seriously. And once I started having breakthrough moments, I was actually finally able to attract a partner, but not just some random player man or someone who wouldn't be good for me. I actually managed to attract a really high quality, genuine partner that I'm still with today, and that would be my advice. Invest in a shrink.
That's
Truly, it is an investment, and investing in your mental health and resolving certain issues that may be holding you back. Like, this is priceless. Everyone should be investing in this.
Yeah, and I suppose, what I hear you saying as well is just really kind of self-aware as well, and knowing like, well, if this is something that's really important to me, if, I know I definitely don't want to work, I know I want to find a partner who supports me completely, and also supports my vision for what I'm trying to create in the world, and then, just really owning that and stepping into it. So, I mean, when you put it like that, there doesn't sound, it doesn't sound quite so controversial. Um, but apart from the more sort of, I suppose, um, tips for how to behave and, I suppose like have that kind of awareness of competition, what are some like actual kind of, I suppose, piece of advice that you'd give people? Like, is it kind of to go out more, or would it be to, network more, or in terms of actually meeting people? Because it's no good looking fabulous if you're not actually moving in those circles, I suppose.
No, you're absolutely right. So one of the first things I tell my students is that you have to align your new life like with the rich, if that's kind of your goals, if that's the people you want to surround yourself with. And it is very important to get over that threshold, because I think a lot of people actually feel uncomfortable around the rich. They maybe give them this authority, and that perhaps they don't belong next to them, or that, they would, like, wealthy people would look down on them or something like that. But I usually find that to be a little bit of a misconception, especially like I said, wealth is so accessible today. Successful people are very accessible today. So it's very easy. It's very easy to meet these people if you just like do simple things, as in you travel to the locations where they usually travel. You maybe go to the places where they usually go. It can be maybe certain art galleries, certain events, exhibitions. It can be certain hotels, restaurants, I don't know, bars, anything really.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so it's like, put yourself in these places where you're more likely to meet people of a certain income level, I suppose.
Yes.
Cool. So, I mean, it's not so unusual, I feel, to have this discussion. I mean, especially when we consider, how artists have been supported by patrons for centuries, and now the only, and now the only difference really is that there's a lot more. I suppose, women coming to the forefront, women's art that, are really coming to the forefront. But I mean, how do you advise people to manage those discussions about, when it comes to really like, this is what I want to do, and open that discussion, because I think a lot of guys might be surprised that, somebody doesn't intend to work and that they just want to be supported.
Yeah, so this is a very obviously a tricky question, and a lot of students asking this all the time. But this is the thing, like it's very difficult to convert people. There's a lot of people who have this mindset that they never want to share what they have with anyone, okay? And those people, I would say, let's just skip them. Like, let's not even bother investing our time and energy in them, because there are so many people out there, and you better just try and kind of read people, analyze people, like who would be a person who actually perhaps is generous or maybe shares similar mindset as I do or similar values. I mean, I can say, for instance, my partner, he still supports me since day one because I like that dynamic. I am what I call a traditional feminist, okay? So, and gosh, I got off topic there. So what I wanted to say is that my partner, he is a person who has the same value as me. And it took me, X amount of years to find him because I was looking for someone who would be, both genuine and generous and everything that really ticked my boxes. But, it just boils down to the mindset. You have to share the similar values. So your job, if you are into this and you want to find someone who can support you, you have to just start scouting for people and, investigating, would this be a person who could be inclined to this? But then, of course, it all can take into the direction where, okay, but when do we have this conversation and so on? I still believe that these things usually grow organically, and especially in a romantic relationship, you really have to give the person time to believe in you, so that that person feels like, okay, I genuinely want to invest in this person, so that this is not just some form of transactional relationship or use and abuse type of scenario.
Totally. And I mean, I should also say that, artists definitely work. It's not like, do, they're just going to be sitting at home watching TV all the time, but it's just because some can really struggle to get paid that they're just not bringing in the same salary level, but they're definitely contributing and they're definitely out there putting their work out there, but they're just not actually getting the same sort of income level. So it's not as if they're just not contributing at all. So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
and I just wanted to say, I think that art is such a kind of overlooked thing. It is a job, and it's a real job, and it should be more embraced and taken more seriously. I feel like today we're kind of in this role where, oh, everyone has to work. If you're working with art, it's not a real job. It's like you're not, how can I say, you're not worthy of the position of someone serious if you're an artist. And I think that's a real shame, because there are many ways how one can contribute to society, not only through traditional labor.
And when you're advising people to, to focus and prioritize, I suppose, relationships, and relationships that work for them, which, I totally agree with. I think that everybody is different and, we all have different priorities for our relationships. But if we don't have supportive relationships, we don't really have anything. Um, but I mean, if we take that kind of piece of the formula out of it, where we really want, where we want somebody to support us financially, I suppose marriage comes into it then as well, and kind of like playing that long game where we're not just as women, we're not just putting ourselves out there to be used, even on a temporary basis. I mean, how do you advise people about kind of more the long game, as opposed to obviously, like, just being like, you know, a mistress, or, just getting money some way, but you're not, there's no kind of relationship in it, or there's no kind of, nothing nurturing about the relationship.
Yeah, so definitely marriage. I am very pro marriage, and but at the same time, I know that short-term arrangements, whether it is being a mistress or any form of relationship, I know that for some women that can also really kickstart their career and be incredibly beneficial for them. However, it is usually a short-term solution. So I think I mean, listen, each to his own. Some women want to get married, some don't. But I personally think that the best scenario is to try and secure the man in some way by marrying him. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's more ethical as well. And with art, so much of it is literally about complete authenticity, being true to ourselves. So just that idea of being comfortable in that kind of relationship sounds very, I suppose, unsettling. I don't know. To me personally, I would just find that really bizarre. Um, so, I mean, just to shift gears a little bit and to speak about more about style now, I suppose, a lot of the time when you're helping people and advising people, you do focus on their image. And I suppose, what are some tips that you would give women to really achieve their best look? What three pieces of clothing do you believe that every woman should have in her wardrobe?
Okay, so number one, and this is such a cliche advice, but definitely the little black dress. But it doesn't have to be little. So we're not talking mini versions here. I usually believe it's nice to have something around knee length, whether it's just before the knee or just after the knee, it's up to you. But definitely a dress that is very neutral, and black is a good color because it is neutral and you can wear it on really all kinds of occasions. So I would say this dress is the perfect dress for when you do not know what to wear. You can just pull it on, like even if it's for lunch or a job interview or a day at work, whatever it is, you won't, it will work even in the evening, even maybe at a cocktail party, So that is like definitely the number one. Now, number two, I think every woman should own a pair of heels. But I am against stilettos. I I'm very much like nothing over 10 or 11 centimeters. So usually that's a good length or height. I mean, the royal house, that's usually around that area. They are as well with their heels. And I would say that definitely a pair of maybe black pumps or maybe a nude colored pumps, because that goes literally with any outfit. And then lastly, number three, I would say a black fitted coat, a coat that is usually also very versatile. You can wear it during the day, but most importantly is that you have a coat that you can wear at a formal occasion. I think that is very important. If you go out at night, and you wear like a nice dress, I don't think maybe it's appropriate to wear certain types of jackets. So for that reason, the black coat will always be very handy.
Those are great suggestions, yeah, and very practical advice about just how to be elegant, I suppose at the drop of a hat. That's really helpful. I suppose when we're talking about, really being the best versions of ourselves, what other advice do you give women, not just about, I suppose, on a superficial level, which is like, their style or whatever, but also more about their character and, and what they're really kind of putting out into the world. So what advice do you give people about, I suppose, kind of how to approach their life, in really being the best version of themselves?
Well, in order to, how can I say, improve yourself, one has to be honest with oneself. You have to be able to look yourself on a deep level and ask yourself, where are my flaws? Where could I improve myself? And it's not easy. Not everybody are able to do that. Um, there are some things. First of all, not everybody's perfect, and I'm not here teaching that everybody has to be perfect, because we will never achieve perfection. But what I mean when with being the best version of yourself is about reducing or removing flaws that are just holding you back. So that can be anything, you know. You might be a beautiful woman, but then when you speak, you talk so loudly that you just put people off, you know. Or I don't know, maybe there's something else about you that could use a little bit more refinement. So it's about kind of looking into the details and improving those parts, and then you're good to go, I would say.
Right, very good, very good. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, when I think of being the best version of myself, I look at in particular generosity and just making sure that, you know, every person that I meet is experiencing experiencing me at the, you know, at my best, that I'm connecting with them, being present, and really, you know, seeing the person for everything that they offer, and everything that they have potential to be, and just connecting with them like on that level, so that I can really get to know them and support them any way that they can. I suppose I think that's kind of, you know, for me, that's when I think of being the best version of myself. That's what where I would really go with that. So I mean, in terms of, you know, the inner part, you know, at a more kind of deeper level, how do you tell people to, you know, embody that? I suppose is, you know, is there anything in particular that you advise people to really focus on?
Well, I think it is important to have this kind of mentality where you are thinking more on kind of a spiritual level, you know, connecting with people, what is important, being good and kind to one another. I mean, actually, having good manners is about, you know, treating people with the best possible respect, kindness, and appreciation. And that, like, for an elegant woman, that is the fundamental aspect. Like, that is the pure basics that everybody must master, because especially today in a world where everybody's so self-centered and nobody could really, you know, give a damn about one another, we really need to apply more manners in our society, I would say.
Sounds good. And I suppose, yeah, I mean, I know you really help people, you strive to help people to really navigate success. So, I mean, could you tell me a little bit more about that and how, and, you know, like the definition of success that you help people to achieve, and also, you know, exactly like navigating that. How does that look for you?
Navigating success first starts first with defining what is success for you and what are the goals that you want to achieve. So women who join my program, they usually have aspirations for a more luxurious lifestyle, but that doesn't mean that everybody has the same exact goals. Some women, maybe they want to end up with a billionaire and traveling first class everywhere or private jets, whilst other women, they just don't want to be forced to work, you know, and that's their version of having a more affluent lifestyle. So that really depends. And I think it's just important to nail down what your goal is, because once you really know that, then it's so much easier to strategize your journey and kind of see what approach to take so that you can be successful.
Very nice. So, I mean, when you're working with clients, do you find that, you know, that they really kind of find it easy to make this transition?
It really depends. Some people, they have a longer journey ahead. Some people have a shorter. Some people are really taking this seriously and are proactive, while some people, they maybe just bought the program so they can dream about this lifestyle. You know, you have them, you know, this mix, and it's always going to be like that. I just really try and be as supportive as I can, you know, through my YouTube channel where I update like 2, 3 times per week, and through my blog post and engagement in my Facebook groups to kind of motivate these women. Like, you know what, just go for it. Like, it's possible. If you just do it and believe in it, it will happen. So yeah, I guess that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. So I suppose, for me, I know a lot of girls who end up retiring their husbands, and so the shoe is really on the other foot. And I suppose, you know, there's a lot of men out there, you know, who would love to, so just like there's a lot of women who would just like to not have to work, and just like have their wives support them. Do you ever work with men?
I don't. I want to help women. I want to empower women, so women are my one and only niche. Plus, I kind of feel like, I guess the mentality that I have is that I really think that, it's more a man that should provide for women than the other way around. Because honestly, how many jobs or roles do men have? Not many. So let them like do what they're kind of aimed to do, and let us women do what we're aimed to do. At least that's my traditional mindset.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so I suppose, is there anything, we're kind of almost at the end of time now, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? I feel like we're just kind of at the tip of the iceberg here, because it is quite a controversial subject, and I mean, I suppose I wanted to bring it to the audience because it's something that a lot of women would dream of, but actually never have the courage to admit that they would really love just to be taken care of, and have that kind of time, even just on a temporary basis, just to really dig into their art and see what they can kind of come out with. But I suppose I feel like it would kind of get a little bit boring, just being taken care of all the time. I mean, there's only so many, times you can meet people for coffee without, actually kind of feeling, okay, I achieved this, and this is kind of what I've done in the world. I mean, how do you work with ambitious women, for example, who really have that desire to achieve? They really want to do things in the world. Yeah, like even something like setting up a charity or something, or really making a difference in people's lives. What do you advise people, those kind of women who want to achieve that, and also and have it all, and marry somebody wealthy, and and be happy and loved?
Well, I guess I am a good example for that, because so my partner takes care of me financially. I don't have to work, which is great. But I am the type who is ambitious. I love working, and I've always worked since I was age of 15. So for that reason, like, I just want to do whatever I'm passionate about, and let's see what happens. Like this, what I do is not really so much about money. It's more because I just feel like it's my duty somehow, and I feel like I'm noticing how it's benefiting so many women, and I'm creating like this big community of women who don't usually get a voice to speak about this, because it is such a taboo topic. But instead, we have created this. And listen, I'm sure that some of, these people who are watching right now maybe might disagree with me, maybe think I'm this crazy woman who belongs like a century ago or something. But you know what? Like, I'm not forcing my ideology upon anyone. I just think that a woman should have a choice. Like, if she wants to work, go for it. Like, I am working too, But if she doesn't want to work, like, don't judge her for it, let her have a choice in our society. Like, society is already, judging us women so hard already. There's this witch hunt, like whatever we do is wrong. If we want a man to provide for us, we're gold diggers. If we have too many sexual partners, we're sluts. I mean, there's so many name calling for women. And I guess one of my missions with what I do, and why I'm featured in media quite a lot for this topic, is because to kind of just raise awareness that I think it's enough. Like, stop judging us. Let us just, empower us instead. Let us have a choice. Even if you might not share these values, even if your life looks totally different, just don't judge us. That's actually how I just wanted to say and end this interview.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, Anna. And I would totally stand next to you on that one as well. Because I think that, yeah, if you judge somebody without really knowing where they're coming from, obviously, how can you possibly love them, and how can you really let them come into their own, and really grow as a person? So I totally respect your opinions on that. And no, it's such an original, I suppose, coaching program that you offer, where you're going to guide people through this. And I think it takes a lot of courage to own this and say, well, actually, I'm happy, having a man take care of me, and that's who I am. So I really admire your courage on that as well. So I suppose, I know you have a free gift for our audience. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So, for those women who feel like they need a little assistance in their outfit decision making, I have a cheat sheet that helps women to kind of, have a quick overlook. What is like what looks expensive, what doesn't, what is classy, what is elegant, and what's not. So if you go to the link, classycheatsheet.com, you will enter your email and then you can download my cheat sheet, and it's absolutely free. So that was my gift.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Anna, and I look forward to downloading that myself.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Oh, and before you go, where can people find you online?
So I'm very present on my YouTube channel, which is, youtube.com/School of Affluence. And of course, schoolofaffluence.com. That is the enrollment page for those women who are interested in taking part of my program.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Anna.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.